Welcome everyone to tap in today with me, Mana, Therapeutic Astrology podcast and Supernormalized podcast by CeeJay Barnaby. Welcome, CeeJay.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yes, of course, I need to know before we get into all of your experience in what we could call the supernatural. Or the super, yeah, I want to know like your vision behind your podcast, calling it Supernormalized instead. What's
I
that?
yeah. Okay, so to normalize something is to make it sort of regular, and then super is pretty much the short part of super normalized is from the supernatural. So I see that the supernatural world and connecting with spirits and having intuition and being a psychic and channeling and pretty much all this sort of stuff is absolutely normal for all of us. And often I find by talking to like so far I found from talking to so many people is that what happens is when we grow up, we already had all this and it was normal. Like we all, as children, we all know magic. We all know that there is a beautiful what would you call it, animate sort of world that we live in, and that gets suppressed over time. So I'm sort of trying to, through what I'm doing, is to bring it back that we can actually enter into that childlike state, that liminalist sort of space where we can connect with, the greater sense of the world and what it means to be a human and to be here and experience life.
Great. And so you interview people who've had experiences like that.
Nearly everyone's had experiences like that so far. It's like there's always like people will talk about stuff, and because like often I'll start with talking with people about their process and what's happened to them, and because a lot of people talk about the healing modalities and how they came to them, but nearly every one of them has had a touching experience where their world has been expanded again.
Yeah.
It's like the world, it invites you to be larger.
Yeah. I mean, I feel there's a difference between feeling the connection with everything and having, spiritual moments and the things that I've read about you, right? That you are many times experiencer of contacts with spirits, aliens,
Yes.
UFOs, multidimensional beings,
Mm.
right? And that you've been taunted by shape-shifting aliens, been abducted numerous times. I mean, there's a difference here between just feeling connected and then having those kind of experiences.
Well, yeah, that's true. And what I will say about the abduction experience, some sequences that I've experienced, I that's a suspicion. I can't prove it. You know what I mean? It's like I think that's what happened.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I can't prove that's what happened. So yeah, there was like a
It's
sequence of events that led up to those experiences, and then they were ongoing for a while, and we just had indications of something had happened, but we don't know what it was. And every night we'd be awake and totally surprised. But yeah. Mm.
Where should I begin with you? I mean, I guess we have to accept in this field it's not about proving it in any it- yeah scientific way. Not that it cannot be, but we have to free ourselves to just talk about it, right? This is the experience, my subjective, personal experience with this.
Yeah.
Not just a belief, but this is actually what I feel has happened. Um,
Yes.
but so we are talking about that there is differences in these kind of um, happenings in your life,
Mm.
that
Yeah.
something is more on, I go to yoga and then being abducted by UFO. I mean, well, do you have a vision about bringing that into the normal space?
Well, okay. So when I say normalizing things, I mean, I don't want everyone to be abducted by UFOs. It's pretty weird. So I mean, like connecting to spirit and connecting to a greater sense of understanding of your place in the world.
Yes.
Yeah. Abduction experiences. From all of the stuff that I've experienced and read, not all of them are great, and not all of them are positive. I've actually had experiences where I have had positive experiences with beings, but I wouldn't call them exactly abduction experiences. But I'm taken to another place and shown things that totally are amazing, and that actually help me to integrate other aspects of my understanding of the world. So I do see there's benefits in it, but obviously I don't recommend that as a strategy for people to find in personal growth. It's not like you could provide like
Right.
and a personal abduction center. That'd be weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So that goes my comparison with yoga. It's just because something like yoga has been fairly normalized.
Oh
And
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
there's
Yeah. I know what you mean by that.
sorry?
I know what you mean by that. I mean, I actually was thinking about that when I was driving today. I was like, well, a little while back there, yoga, you know, but when I was a child, my friend's mother was a yoga practitioner, and we just thought she was a weird lady going down the bottom of the garden and
Yeah.
bending in all different positions, because no one did it.
Yeah.
But now there's like, you know, deep competition between yoga centers to get, people in there and paying money on their books on a regular pattern. So, in time, all these things become seemingly, a
Mm.
normal part of life, So, and I look forward to everyone learning how to meditate. I think that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm really with you on that normalizing journey in the sense that I've heard a lot of people share with me amazing spiritual, mm, I don't know what else to call it than experiences. Um, but but then not being able to talk to anyone about it, like saying it to me, but without not don't put this in the interview, right? Not on the record.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
And I was wondering about that because I would love to have shared that and, put that out into the world so other people could recognize that. So there is, I don't know, is it shameful? Is that also part of what you're trying to break free from?
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of what I'm definitely trying to break free from. From a very early age, I've had lots of experiences, and I learned that some things you just shouldn't share with people because they just freak out. So, it's like, but then, I can't say that happens for everyone because some people are open to talking about it as well. So when I've actually tried to share my experiences to, you know, without understanding or realizing that not everyone's ready to actually hear this sort of stuff, their eyes you often glaze over and they say, well, that's different.
Mm.
And, that's their nice way of saying, you know, um, you're a weirdo.
Oh,
But, that did actually affect me in different ways as a young person, a youth growing up. And I learned to suppress my experiences and my connection to, the other and my intuition and things like that, because in our society, that's just what is, it's just the way things are. And I thought, oh, I'll go along with the crowd and try and be normal. But that actually led to um, uh, self-harm through, first of all, alcohol and then marijuana as a youth. And you don't realize that that's what you're doing. You're actually self-medicating against not being able to speak your truth, and I think speaking your truth and the experiences that you've had is extremely important. To
mm,
share is important, and to make this stuff normal is important.
really good, really good. Just have this image in my mind from your birth chart. Is it okay if I share that?
Yeah, yeah, go on.
Okay. It's from it's just from what I think anyway. But it's that you are Gemini, and in the beginning of the Gemini journey, it can be like that. Like I just want to blend in, and maybe not feeling smart enough, and that's maybe the reason why you just want to repeat what everyone else is saying. But then you have your moon in Scorpio connected to Neptune, so that's very different.
Yeah,
That's like, I want to go deep. And I could imagine in the beginning that that could lead to some self-destructive tendencies if there's a polarized um, personality there.
yeah,
And but then the greater potential of that is always for a Gemini to find his voice. Always that, I have interviewed so many Geminis. It's because that's the potential is really finding your voice, sharing it, researching, and definitely not bending to any group pressure like that. Yet staying very connected to other people, through the message.
mm,
Um, and then the Scorpio Neptune is And that's a question I have for you. Have you ever had spiritual experiences connected to drugs? I mean, it's just,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, okay, so that's another side of it.
Yeah, yeah. When I was younger, I used to explore psychedelics in different ways and found really deep connections with those things. That basically they're doorways to other universes, and I found that I could access these universes when I did those substances ritually, and in doing so, I formed really strong bonds with beings in other places. And one of the times I went into a place, I found my spirit team, and a spirit team is something that other people talk about when they have an NDE. If you go and look up on NDE videos, people talk about, oh, these people there, they're all my friends. I knew them really well. It was like that. It was exactly the same. I went into a place, and all these beings there, and they were like, it was like they were waiting for me. And when I turned up, there was elation, and it felt like a party, like a coming home party. And they were so happy to see me, and they were like, "Well, it's about time you got here." This is the gist of the information that I was getting. It's like, "Well, we're so happy to see you. This is really good that you're here and everything. We want to learn how to communicate with you better and everything." And then they introduced me to another being, and I had to learn how to communicate with that being. And then I returned from that journey. But yeah, yeah, accessing different dimensions, but be able to do it in a conscious sort of way is super important, because these things can be, if they're used recreationally, you can certainly hurt yourself. And that's a sort of big stamp of caution I would put on there. And if anyone is already doing this sort of thing, be careful, because you can actually literally get possessed. And I've had that experience too, and it wasn't good. I didn't believe it was possible until I got possessed, but once I got possessed, it was really hard to lift that. And it was an awful time.
Wow, is that what taught you to go into it more in a conscious way, like you say,
Oh
finding?
no, I actually learned to do it in a more conscious way, because I at first was doing things recreationally, and it kicked my butt. And what I mean by that, I just started to feel really odd emotionally, and it was sort of out of control. I thought, what the hell is this? It's got to be that. So I, backed down, and I thought about how to work with this and use my intuition. And I started my process of working with these substances as in a method that what I would do is I would take the substance, set an intention, and meditate while it was happening, while it was starting up. And from that point onwards, every journey that I had was amazing.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But something in what you said strikes me. You said that the spirit groups were had said that they were the ones who needed to learn to communicate to you. And I'm
Oh
over.
no, no, that I had to learn to communicate with them,
Oh,
because yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but they actually did make a point that in this place we only communicate in this way, so you have to learn our communication methods.
okay. So I
Yeah,
got mixed up. Good. Okay, good.
yeah,
Yeah. So it
yeah.
is because it is what it is. They are what they are, and they do it the way. So it's us who have to. And do you have suggestions for that? How do you open up? Because as I texted you on email, I'm like really curious about this. Not just curiosity, it's a deeper longing to feel more connection and to yeah, meet my spirit group or something.
Well, for me, I would say the best and probably easiest path, but can be challenging for some people, is meditate. Regular meditation practice.
Mm.
Get yourself into that center place, because otherwise you are in a cyclone of change and other people's dreams, altering your life in all sorts of different directions. And as soon as you calm down that mind and teach it that being calm all the time is the better place to be, things
Mm.
become a lot easier. So
So,
meditation is definitely key. And then once you meditate, you're actually opening up to your intuition as well.
mm,
And depending on how sensitive you are or how sensitive you wish to be, you can actually start then having connections to other beings and that are helpful to you. And you can go on basically journeys. Carl Jung actually had a journeying method that's really really good. And I was taught another method during a shamanic class here where I live. that is really, really helpful. And basically, yeah, it's a simple sort of process. And and that time it was actually done with drumming and intention and going inward, and found some beautiful things in there. Another spirit team that was all animal based, and yes, another higher being and another lower being. It was really interesting, very
Mm,
interesting stuff. Yeah, they're
mm.
very helpful too.
Like the animals and the spirit beings are very helpful to point you to a direction you have to go in life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. That's right, they do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, because I'm really into meditation, but I've not had experiences like that. So one way to
Mm.
conclude is that, oh, we're just different people who need to have different evolutionary lessons and yeah, challenges. Um,
Yeah, I certainly believe that's true. That I think that we do actually pick a path and then walk it, in our lives. And so, yeah,
it's not for
just
everyone.
being open. Sorry.
So it's not for everyone to have these encounters.
I think, well, I actually think that I'm sort of prone to it for some reason because I've had so many encounters. But uh, I also think that if you're open to things, then things happen as well. I mean, a lot of people I actually talk to have had absolutely normal lives, like, investment bankers, lawyers, financial advisors, things like this, super, super, what I would call normal sort of people. And they're going along in life and absolutely nothing is spiritual. And then suddenly, boom, massive change. And when that change happens, it's, usually from a traumatic event or somebody like close to them dies or something like that, that where you're actually instantly opened up to a different possibility. And in that change, all of their abilities come and they turn into psychics and mediums and channelers and magicians and all sorts of things because basically they've been, open to it. So these things can happen. You just, it just depends on, how open you are to it. And I think that one of the keys to it, if you wish to start doing work on yourself, is probably meditation. I'd say is one of the key elements.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of out of my dreams as well. Do you work with dreams at all?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I get dreams. I used to have a really strong habit of writing them all down in my journal, but that's waned off for a little while. Sometimes I do it a lot. Sometimes I do it a little. And I've noticed in the dreams that if you write them down a lot, then you start to see dream patterns that really are obvious and things have sort of metaphoric meaning, and it's really cool. So
Mm,
yeah, your dreams talk to you a lot, and to connect in even more to that, you can actually wake up in the morning if you've just had a dream, write it down, and because the dream space is actually a creative space, if you can't remember all of it, the key thing is to be creative around it. So to start making stuff up, right?
mm,
And that connects back into it. And a lot of people say that if you can just draw first, just draw images, that helps a lot too, because the drawing part of it is actually more intimately connected to the imagination, and that's again connected to that higher and more open space.
Yeah, that's a great point. How imagination relates to all of this. You were saying something in the beginning, like the abduction. I'm not sure if that's what happened, but so is that also like imagery for you, piecing it together with your mind like that?
No, back then I wasn't doing that. I was doing a bit of meditation at the time around when those experiences were happening. Um, but yeah, no, what I mean by that when I say that is the experiences were happening, but I wasn't conscious of what was happening because it would happen when I was unconscious, and then I'd wake from it at the same time as my partner, and then we both compare notes and go, what is going on?
At
So,
the same time as your partner.
sorry.
At the same time as your partner.
Yeah, well, okay. So I'll tell you one story, right? So
Yeah.
we're living in a house in the forest in a valley called Hewenbrook in northern New South Wales. And where the house is, it's actually at the bottom of a large hill, and that hill goes right up like a big face in front of us, just covered in greenery and trees and everything. And then down at the bottom of that was where we were living, their house, and then running around a house was a creek called Crystal Creek. And walking around that property, I noticed all the ground was covered in quartz. It's everywhere. Okay, so I know that now I know that that's actually something that can resonate with, spiritual sort of energy, but I didn't really know how strong that would be at the time. When we first moved into the house, we started to notice a lot of odd things happening, like doors suddenly being open that weren't open, for example, having entities walk across the roof. And it was a tin roof, so we could actually hear exactly where they were and point to them and go, oh, there it goes, which is really odd. And that was happening a lot. And it got to the point, like, we weren't scared of it. We're like, it just sounds like somebody walking, like a person walking on the roof. You could hear the footsteps and everything. But I ran outside one night with a torch and put it on there, and it wasn't visible. Whatever it was not visible. And we just accepted it. Like, okay, this is a weird house, weird stuff happens, And one night, I had my daughter over because was sharing custody of my daughter with my ex-partner at that time. And she preferred to sleep on the lounge because she had a nice nest. She was only small. She was like about 6 years old. And so I'd set up a nest for her for that night, and we all went to bed. She went to bed on her lounge, and we went to bed in the bedroom. And at about 1 a.m., I woke, and without any self-control, I sat up in the bed and I pointed at the window in front of us. And where I was pointing was at the top of the ridge. If the window was open, you could see a ridge there, right?
Mhm.
Blinds, I should say. And so I was pointing and I said, they're here. They're here, something like that. And my partner woke up and she said, what do you mean they're here? And I said, they're coming now. And it was sort of uncontrollable. And then we heard this sound. It was like a really strong electric fan resonating with a like a throb. And I thought it's definitely not a helicopter because I know helicopter sounds. And as it came over the ridge, you could hear the sound bouncing off a whole valley. I'm thinking, this is going to wake everybody up. It's just so loud, whatever it is. And I thought it was really odd. So I thought, look, I better go and see what's going on in the lounge room because my daughter is in there. I was concerned about her. And we both got up and we turned the light on. And whatever this thing was right above the house at this stage. And it was just hovered over the house. And while it hovered over the house, the whole house was resonating with an energy that I could feel on my skin, and it felt like electricity. And we were standing in a circle looking at each other in the lounge room. And my daughter looks up at me and she says, Dad, turn off the fan, because it sounded like a really loud fan. I said, it's not a fan. And she's like, oh, and we just stood, I don't know why, we just stood there. On my table, which was within 3 meters from me, was a very powerful torch, really good camera and recording equipment. And it's like, I didn't even think to run outside and take a picture of this. And I don't know why I didn't, but I just didn't because it didn't occur to me. And I don't know why. But apparently that's a common thing. And when people are having experiences like this. So we stood there for about a minute while this happened. And then it moved off down the valley, but it went and hovered over the next house. You could hear it. It was because the next house was about maybe 200 meters away. And we could hear it just over there. And I thought, what was that? And we we all just looked at each other, and my daughter went to bed. I tucked her in and we went to bed. We didn't even talk about it. We just went to bed. And it was really odd. And I was like, what is going on? Because it was still to me in mine. I was like, I don't know why I'm not processing this in another way. Anyway, I woke up in the morning and we didn't talk about it. I talked about it to my friend online in the UK at the time. And he said, yeah, that sounds like an odd event. And I said, yeah, well, it was. But we still had, no evidence of it. It was just the experience we had. And that was that, we thought. Now, about a week later, my daughter had already gone home, and we had gone to bed. And then I think it was about maybe 3 a.m. We both sat bolt upright in the bed. And I said, are you awake? She goes, yeah, I'm fully awake. I don't know what's going on. And I was like, oh, neither do I. That's really strange. Because usually when you wake up, you feel a little groggy, but we were like, it was like we just blinked and we're awake. And went into the kitchen area, and we thought, well, might as well go to the bathroom. But this house was old; it had an outhouse bathroom, So we'd have to walk outside, and normally at night time we'd go in the kitchen and open the drawer and turn the torch on and walk out. We both walked around to the kitchen drawer, opened the drawer, and all the torches are turned on. And we looked at it and went, "What? Why are the torches on? Something's happened. We don't even know what it is." And we just thought, "Well, that's really odd." We turned the other torches off, went to the bathroom, went to bed. That happened as a sequence many, many times over. And we had no idea what was going on, but we suspect there was something happening. We still to this day don't know.
Oh, wow. So a lot of this is yet to be discovered. What unexplained, like was there
Mm.
no inherent meaning in it for you?
It was a connection to something, but we don't know what it is or what it was. There was a lot of other things that happened in that house. I mean, another example, I'm walking in the yard doing things, and I'm walking back towards the house, and I'm compelled to stop, and I stop, and then I hear this beautiful female voice singing in a language that I don't know, and it sounded sort of etheric and absolutely amazing. And it was coming from the direction of our like the carport sort of area, which is in directly in line with the outhouse. And I'm yelling out, and I said to my partner at the time, "Hey, are you singing over there?" And the singing stopped, and she yelled out, "No, I'm not singing at all. I'm in the toilet." No, no. And I just thought, what the hell? And I looked down, and I'm actually in a ring of flowers that were on the ground. And I'm thinking, is this a fairy ring? What is going on?
You have a
And
blog post on that, how to contact fairies or something, right?
I don't know. Do I?
It's an old
Did
one.
I?
It's an old one. I think it
Oh,
hasn't
really?
updated for.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I actually don't remember.
how do we make contact with fairies? I was thinking
I-
then that's
well,
a thing,
actually,
right? Fairy contact is a thing.
it is a thing, and it happens often to people that totally don't expect it and aren't looking for it. So it seems, from my understanding, what's actually happening is that uh, the world is made of like frequency that is dense enough for us to experience. All right, we actually experience this as real. This is real, and it's real all the time for us. The beings that make up this experience are actually conscious, and they make us up, and they make all of our experiences up all the time, simultaneously, everywhere. So a part of that set of beings can be also conscious and also separate to our experience, and they're doing the thing that they do, and some of those beings are fairies.
That's a lot.
Sorry.
No, good. This is exactly what I want, and this is what I long for. I want to hear how is it, and also what is the meaning of it? Because there's the fairy, and there's the meaning in that maybe being connected. But what about all of those inexplainable events? The whole house is resonating, or you can feel the
Yeah,
electricity inside of you. And what were the intention? Do you think?
I don't know. I really don't know. We didn't even notice if we had any missing time or anything like that. It just didn't occur to us to even check. So we don't know, and we don't know what happened that night.
In the long run, does it make you feel more connected, more stable in your confidence that whatever you believe in is true? Or what? How does it affect you afterwards?
How does it affect me? Well, I wouldn't say that it's negative anyway. I'd say, if anything, it just encourages me to search for truth, I think. And a part of that is realizing that these experiences might have been just a part of a greater narrative towards driving me in a certain direction. Right.
It
My life path is planned out, so I've got to actually follow it, and whatever happens, happens. And so a part of that was that.
is your life path. Does it have a lot to do with these kind of encounters and sharing it and talking to people about it? Are you also doing something completely different?
I wouldn't say I'm doing anything different. I think that probably a lot of people go through these sort of things, but they don't talk about it. I'm actually choosing to talk.
Yeah. But so is that your particular life path?
Isn't my life path? It must be, because I like to talk about it. So, and I'm also writing about it too. So I'll say that.
No, good. Okay. And so I want to hear more about how um, so do we all have a spirit group? Do we what
I
is
think we do.
you think we do? Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone does. Yeah. Yeah. Then the other side isn't a place to be scary of. It's just another place.
I mean, did you say, maybe I misheard you, did you say that they dream us up?
Ooh. That's a really, it's difficult to describe that. It's like we're living in a dream that we believe is our dream. So this reality is like a dream that we're living, and it's a living dream. And at the same time, they're sort of guiding our experience as well. So it's like they have influence in our dream. All events, everything, it's sort of it's sort of like you could say it's planned in a certain sort of way. You
Mm,
know, this is the reason why you can have intuition about things, because you're already connecting to what's going to happen next.
mm, because it has been planned out.
Well, I don't know if it's actually exactly planned out, but you can actually pick up on, yeah, what's going to happen next.
Mhm, mhm.
Hmm.
Do you have many question marks in this?
Do I have many question marks? I'm still formulating some ideas around how to describe this, and it seems to be coming to me as something that I can get out and talk about in a certain sort of way, and it's making more and more sense over
Mm,
time.
mm.
Mm.
So what is the meaning of life? I'm asking like it's a small question. What's the meaning of life? But I'm like, what is the meaning of why we are put here? I mean, and not just stay in the spirit world.
Well, I could say what makes you think you're even anywhere, but I will say,
Yeah.
got to watch out for that. So, but yeah, why are we put here? Imagine that spirit, pure spirit is already all knowing, already absolutely everything, right?
Mm,
And then the exact opposite of that would be um, absolutely knowing nothing and and nothing together at all. We're in sort of like an in between sort of place where that gets sort of discussed in a way. It's like there's these poles of understanding which are working out understanding for spirit. So spirit's got to experience absolutely everything all together, all at once, all of the time, everywhere, and that's what it does. And so our
right.
experience is a part of that.
Because you must have, if you've said have had these encounters, you must have asked them stuff. Did you ask them anyone when you were abducted, or when you also write
Well,
shape shifting?
well, okay. So, what do you mean by that? I mean, like, you mean ask the beings, or?
Yes, I mean, I would immediately just ask so many questions that I have about life. What's going
Oh,
on?
okay. I'll tell you something that's really weird, but also a little bit funny. When I went into a space the first time and I met my spirit team, I was so shocked by how more real it was and how amazing it was. And then I was directed to start working with a communicator, and the communicator came towards me and started doing work on me. And I could tell that I was understanding things because the colors that were going down its body were all beautiful and congruent and everything. But every time I had a thought that was a bit off, it would go different colors. And one of the thoughts that went off was, will I be going to work tomorrow? And because I was like, I don't know, am I dead? Is this death? You know, and I had that little mundane thought that popped in, and it went grey down its body. I was like, oh, Duffer, that's not a good question. But I still asked it, and it
That's
sort of said,
I
it
wanna,
sort of reassured me and said, you're going to be right. So, yeah.
that, but that's the best question, right? It's like, what am I to do with this? now that I know this, then what? Like it's the integration of that, the mundane and the
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's huge. The integration is definitely very important. You know, because these places and these experiences, and these beings are completely different to everything. But also when you get there and work with them, they're so familiar. It's weird. It's like you've known them forever.
ah, like you're
Yeah.
part of them, like
Mm.
they're part of
It's like
you, like they're
like a
part of
part of me,
yeah,
part of. How about a part of all of us?
yeah, yeah. How about that? Just when you were describing that experience, you said it is the communicator. What did you mean by that?
Oh, okay. So I'll go into a little detail. So I go into the space, and as I mentioned before, it was like a welcome home party, and they said you must learn how to communicate properly, and you must talk to this being, and then this being appeared, and the being that appeared, sort of out of the whatever it was I was in, the ground, was it was actually looked like about a 15-foot praying mantis, and it came up to me and grabbed me and started putting like probes into my head that actually felt quite okay but weird. But its face was like directly touching mine, and I was looking
Like
deeply into its eyes. And sorry,
was it like acupuncture?
well, I don't know about acupuncture. It was more like probes just going all through into my body and soul, just everything. And it felt totally okay. It was like, this is okay. I was like, you know, I was, I mean, in hindsight, I was like, I'm sort of glad I wasn't really thinking about it too much, because I probably would have freaked out, because it was quite intense. and it was doing its work. And I learned how to communicate there, and they were very happy about it. And then when the communicator realized that I was starting to fade back into this dimension, into this reality, it sort of stepped back and started waving at me and said, you know, I could say it was saying, I could tell it was saying goodbye. You're going back now. And then I realized I was breathing and sitting on my bed in my room, and closing my eyes. I could still see it, but I went back into my room. But I also was so astonished by the experience that I didn't know that I wasn't breathing. I actually stopped breathing, and physically breathing, that is. And I sat there on the bed in utter awe and shock, not breathing. And the being in the other dimension said to me, "Breathe." Like it said loudly, "Breathe." And I heard it, and I went, "Oh, wow." And then I stopped again, stopped breathing again. And then it manifested in the room in front of me and pushed me against the wall to push my chest down. And as it
Okay.
pushed my chest down, pushing me against the wall, forcing me to physically breathe, I was so surprised by that. I started breathing really quickly and you know, breathing properly. It disappeared instantly. And I sat there stunned, and also realizing, wait a minute, they can come into this dimension too, and they can do things. I
Yeah.
sat there integrating that for probably about 15, 20 minutes, just realizing what had just happened. And it was the most intense experience of my life, I would say. Well, one of many. So,
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, we are on that scale for sure. Whoa.
yeah.
Yeah, because I would immediately think, what does that imply? It can manifest into this world. Do they walk among us, sort of thing? But that's just one question out of many. I mean, I'm really glad that it made you breathe again. For how long hadn't you breathed, do you think?
I have no idea.
No,
I don't
okay.
know. I didn't
Okay.
even realize I wasn't breathing.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, so, but then you said, I learned to communicate there. And this is actually what I'm asking you. How do we do that? Because your answer is meditation. And I'm not completely
Oh,
satisfied with that answer.
that's a different thing. Yeah, different thing. So meditation is, for me, is a key to calming the mind in this reality. In that reality, when I said um, I learned to communicate there, that was to do with the way they communicate, and it's different. It's like instead of being words, it's more understanding and intention, and you just know with each other. You know, you don't really talk. you know, I was making a mistake of talking a bit, and they were making point that that's not the way to do
Okay. Just don't talk. Okay.
it. Mm.
Oh, amazing. And so do you have personal relationship with any spirit, or is it not personal in that sense?
I say personal. I did with those beings for quite a while until I got to a point where they had shown me all that they could show me, and they didn't. Then they actually unequivocally said, "Do not come here. Do not visit us for a while. You are here. You chose a human experience. Go and have your human experience." And so I did. But outside of that, other beings that I've worked with, yeah, I would say you have an almost personal relationship with them, and you can strike up that relationship by connecting with them and talking with them quite often. And yeah, I do that
What's
with
that job?
certain beings. Sorry,
What's that job? What's that function?
who are we talking about now?
The ones that you said that you could strike up a conversation with,
Oh,
intent.
what's their job? Oh, okay. So there's lots. Like I talk to saints, and I talk to angels, and I talk to planetary spirits, things like that. So that's all a part of other things that I do.
What
Yeah, to
planetary
me, that's
spirit? What could it be?
uh, well, I mean, the spirit of the moon, for example, for Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I do that for each day. It's a part of my practice is connecting with the planet for the planetary day and saying a prayer to it and its planetary intelligence, and then making intentions with that for the day.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that way, astrology relates to many things, and it is representing all things. So, but in that sense as well, that you can connect to the living planets for sure.
Mm,
And
yeah, I believe so.
do you do you work with therapy as well at all? I mean, mm, is your spirituality replacing what you could get out of therapy, do you think?
I don't really have any need to see a therapist. I don't get any depression or anxiety or anything like that.
Oh, but see, that's kind of the old way of looking at it, like you need to have a problem, right? I mean,
I suppose, yeah, yeah.
yeah, in this modern age, it's more, I'm feeling that it's more the work of what maybe a shaman would do earlier, and
Mm,
still are doing, of course, but this is has been replacing it. That's just my sense because it's about bringing yourself back in a way, and you know,
yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I would say that it has replaced that sort of working with people that are professionals. Yeah, I would say that. I've been working with professionals in other dimensions. This it's worked.
professionals in other dimensions.
Yeah. Well, I
Has it,
haven't paid them, but
yes,
on honoring those beings and working with them. Yeah, I suppose you could say that. That I've never really thought about it that way, but yeah, you're right.
yeah, because it's healing for you.
Healing? Yeah, in some cases, yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you hadn't had any of these experiences, could you imagine your life?
I don't know. I can't because I can't imagine the life I'd never had.
How would that be? Yeah, no, but
Yeah, no idea what that would be like.
it's helping you, right? Is what I'm getting at. It's like helping
Yeah, for sure.
you walk through
Yeah.
life. Yeah,
Well, it gives me it's part of my identity, I would say that.
it's part of your identity. Yeah, and a
Mm.
part of your lens, I guess, the way you filter
Yes,
this world. Yeah.
that's
Mm.
it. Yeah, that's true.
Wonderful. Okay, is there anything more you feel like sharing with people, bringing up here in the end?
Okay, so if we're bringing up the end, so can I talk about my podcast and things like that?
Yes, do that. Just
Okay, so if you're interested in my podcast or hearing more of me talk about things, Supernormalized Podcast on all of the podcast apps out there in the universe, and also on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter and everywhere. But if you go to supernormalized.com, you can find all that. And yeah, I do art as well. So if you're interested in seeing my art, I've got an art site which is revelational.art.
It is really revolutionary. It's so beautiful, and it says,
Thanks.
yeah, it's like you only make one of each.
That's right, one only.
That's that's like making me nervous. I need to get it now so it doesn't disappear. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah.
really good. How do you even do that?
I use various tools. I use Midjourney for some of my work, which is an AI tool. And so I write specific prompts to get what I want out of it. Another tool that I use is called View Infinite, and that's a 3D rendering program that is used often to make movie type sets for backgrounds. But I use it for generating different universes and spaces that you can dream into.
Yeah, I think that's what I like about it. That it's like
Mm.
I wanna dwell here a little bit. You know,
Yeah, it gets like that.
I do qigong, for example, and there's a lot of mind work as well. Imagine this and that, and then to just
Mm.
have that imagery to go into that. I think that's a good compliment.
Mm.
It's a help.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I
Yeah,
was
I like
interrupted.
to. I'm writing a book. It's called, at the moment, the name is going to be Liminalist Space, which is about the space between spaces. And yeah, I can't really say when it's coming out. I'm getting close to the end, and my editor keeps on saying, "Where's the book?" So
Okay.
hopefully, I have that done and completed by the end of this year, and then probably out early next year. But we'll see.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, it's a book on all my experiences and also my grand theory of everything. So that could be fun.
Good. Yes, that could be fun. Yes. I
Yeah.
want to hear that grand theory of everything. Yeah. Oh,
I already talked about it in this podcast, but
yeah. This
yeah,
is a
yeah,
little taster of that, I'm sure.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Thank you so much, CJ. I mean, thank you for taking the time. You have to go back to write that book now.
yeah.
And and sharing openly. I really value that, appreciate that with anything, because this is something that I want is to break taboos. Like, let's just talk about it. No matter
That's
if
it.
it's true objectively or not, it's not the case. It's not the point. The point is to be able to be free yourself to talk about how you
Mm.
how you are in this life. How you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Manna, and thanks for reaching out, for inviting me on as well. I really appreciate that. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. And you've had some really great questions that have prompted some really good chats. So yeah, it's a good time. Thank you.
Good time. Thank you so much.